Okay, friends, thank you all for joining. We've got a great crew on here today. My name is Justin with Unity Road, and we are here to talk about franchising. For those of you that are here to talk about just franchising, that'll be the first half of the presentation. Then we'll talk a little bit about what we are doing as Unity Road as a franchisor, the pioneering franchisor in the cannabis market, and combining those two worlds. A little bit of housekeeping. Everybody is on mute for everybody's sanity, but you've got that handy dandy question button right in your panel there. Please feel free to type in questions. I will wait till the end, and then we will get them all answered, I promise. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about franchising. So for those that have an interest in what the heck are we talking about? What is franchising? Franchising, it's really paving the road to the American dream. And I know that sounds a bit cliche, but it's about giving people the roadmap to success. Lots of people dream about and talk about getting into business, but how and when and where and how to be successful. And frankly, if you do a little bit of Google work, the failure rates for getting into or starting an independent business is pretty scary. Franchising gives you that roadmap, and a good franchisor rides shotgun on your journey to help you find a way to get into an industry that you otherwise perhaps couldn't get into, or that it would be difficult to find a path to success. Franchising is about connections, it's about knowledge, it's about experience, it's about you having a team so that the franchisees have one point of contact. And we'll get into what that means for different avenues of the business, but it's about you having one contact that handles every aspect of your business, again, with that recipe for success. As franchisors grow, that rising tide rises all ships philosophy of building brand recognition and plugging into a bigger community so that other people's success has a positive influence on your success. It's also a growth vehicle for franchisors. Good franchisors have a proven system and process and have been running locations themselves and have now put in teams and processes for replication of that success over the years that then allows you, the franchisee, an avenue to plug in and reap the benefits of other folks' ability to build systems and processes and help you navigate some of the complications to get that final recipe for success. So you're going to hear a lot about systems. You're going to hear a lot about support. So franchising really at its core is about those systems, and the systems and processes and team based on experience give you the ability to have less hurdles, less barriers to entry, and an easier path to success. Good franchisors provide systems to do many different things, ultimately to support their franchisees. So as you open, from everything from finding a location or in the industry of cannabis, getting a license, all the way through opening and then assistance and support for the life of the relationship is really what a good franchisor provides. It ensures brand consistency so that when people know they walk into a store, they know what experience they're going to get, what type of product they're going to get, and exactly what that brand stands for. For the franchisee, it creates economies of scale, gives you the ability to reap the rewards of a bigger system where you can then bundle together opportunities to save money and have a larger influence on vendors or on the community at large. Ensures brand consistency. Yes, I know this is a repeated point, but this is key that when you walk into, think of your favorite franchise. When you walk into a store, you know how you're going to be greeted, you know what the customer experience is going to be like. As we'll talk more about later in the cannabis industry, this is something that is really new. This is something in a very fragmented industry like cannabis is lacking, and something that we're excited to be building inside of the cannabis industry by building franchises and spreading the brand recognition. One store does not a brand make, and so having good franchisees give you the ability to benefit from that brand recognition so that we can do things like ensure brand consistency. And so you're seeing a theme here. This is something that's really, really important. That customer experience, the feeling that they have inside about what that brand represents is something that franchisors protect more than anything else, because that's how we can ensure you, the franchisee's success. It just kind of allows us to standardize that customer experience. And there's comfort in what you know as people travel about or have their local shop that they really like. That brand consistency and customer experience consistency is really, really important. So how about you, the franchisee? It's really that roadmap, as I said earlier, to success. And beyond the roadmap, it's really having somebody riding shotgun with you, having that navigator. And so making sure that everything is tight and buttoned up and that you don't make any mistakes that independent businesses make, all the way from site selection and making sure that the store, the shop, or whatever it may be gets built out correctly, to the training of you, the franchisee, and your management team. Many franchise concepts are passive ownership. And so making sure that you have the right manager in place and helping you with systems and processes to train your managers, so that your managers and the systems and processes can train the team to, again, go back to that brand consistency, making sure that that customer experience is the same from one store to the next. And then just providing these SOPs, these operating procedures, so that there's a roadmap or a Bible or a recipe for success, choose your analogy, for folks to be able to follow, to make sure that not only is the business easier for you to run, easier for your team to run, but easier for you to plug into that bigger system. Also, good franchisors help on things that are really tripping points for independent businesses, like supply chain and product distribution. How do you deal with vendors? How do you take advantage of having buying power? And a franchise gives you some of that ability, so that you can maybe only have one store or two stores, but you're getting the buying power of a franchise system that has many stores across many markets. And that's a really big opportunity for you to increase your margins, increase your profitability, increase your consistency in product on the shelf. Speaking of product on the shelf, having somebody who's got their eye on the ball of research and development of new products and services. Think of all these things. We've got marketing down there at the bottom. We've got supply chain. We've got R&D in the cannabis industry. We've got compliance, plus managing the books and people and profitability. How does one person fulfill all of those roles? And you'll see in independent businesses, they oftentimes don't. And if they do it with 90-hour work weeks and being there 99 out of 100 days in the shop. A system and process is about having the right team in place, so there are people who are looking out for each and every one of these points for you. So how does franchising work? First of all, very global level. Franchising is really a method of distributing products or services. It's about a concept or an idea that has been figured out, tried and true, and a team built around that to help distribute those products or that services and that branding across many stores in many markets. In the US specifically, it's a licensing arrangement, very heavily federally regulated, which we'll talk about the complications that provides for the cannabis industry here in a little bit. But it's a type of legal agreement, licensing arrangement, where you, the franchisee, agree to hold up your end of the bargain by being a good steward of the brand. And the brand, in turn, gives you the support and recipe you need to be successful. These definitions can vary by state, and you'll find in the disclosure document when you're evaluating franchises, the first thing you ask for is the franchise disclosure document. If they don't have one, they're not a franchise. So making sure that they have the appropriate documentation to define not only what this relationship looks like for you, but state by state what those variations might look like. And with that agreement, the franchisor licenses their marks, their brand, their methods to you, the franchisee. That does not mean a franchisor runs your business for you, does not mean a franchisor operates your locations. You, the franchisee, and your team are serving the customers, your end users. The franchisor is serving you, the franchisee, and giving you the tools you need to successfully do that. And of course, for that, a franchisee pays the franchisor a fee that varies from one business to the next. You drive down Main Street in your town and you know that franchising is a huge opportunity. 1 in every 10 retail businesses in the US is a franchise. 733,000 establishments providing 7.5 million jobs. We all are talking about labor right now, but franchising provides so many jobs in this sector. It's an opportunity not only to be in business for yourself and have the support for you to change your stars and take control of your future as a business owner, but also to be involved in the community and provide lots of jobs and lots of good into your own neighborhoods. So what are some benefits to you as a franchisee? Brand name recognition. So there are great emerging concepts out there. And so this one can kind of grow. Not everybody is a 7-Eleven, not everybody is a McDonald's or a Starbucks. There are great concepts out there where the brand recognition begins to grow and you get to plug in to being a part of that community of franchisees where there are lots of folks working to build a model and build a reputation. Shared speed to market, you can do things better with a system behind you. You can do things quicker, you can move quicker. In the cannabis industry, speed and first to market, setting that expectation in a market that doesn't really have those expectations set is really a key. Speed is important. Economies of scale, and just access to that proven expertise. So a good franchisor should have a team on staff, and that's what you want to learn about too. People are everything, right? Systems and processes and manuals are great, but who is the team to back it up? So when evaluating franchisors, you want to understand who the team is. What kind of expertise do they have? How long have they been in the system? How are their corporate stores performing? What have they done that's real life, not theory? There are some concepts that come out here in franchise ideas. Beware. Make sure that you understand who the team is and they have real life experience. You do all of that, it'll reduce your risk and reduce the barrier of entry into a new market. It's really about the brand. That's what it comes down to. Franchising is brands. So a franchisor's brand or marks are the most valuable asset. And typically it's because consumers don't always know who owns the store. If I go into a 7-Eleven, I don't know probably who 7-Eleven it is, but I know the brand. I know the experience that I'm going to get, and fill in whatever franchisor is your favorite here. But when you get into a franchise, it's about understanding and having people walk through your door simply not only because of what you're doing in an execution standpoint, which is very critical to success, but because they see a sign they recognize. There's something familiar about it. And so having that brand recognition is probably one of the largest advantages of franchising. Your job then becomes to execute those processes and develop relationships and loyalty with your local customer base. So lots of franchises. I could spend the next, well, we said 733,000, right? There could be 733,000 brands on this. Lots of amazing food concepts that you guys all know and love. Lots of great fitness concepts, some of which I probably should spend more time at. Tech, convenience. There are many, many categories. If there's a category of doing business, there's a franchise for it, from cleaning and services and janitorial and taxes and everything in between. Where we find opportunity is in the cannabis side. There's only one. It's Unity Road. And so as the pioneer franchise here, let's talk about everything that we just talked about. How does it apply to Unity Road and combining the franchise and the cannabis markets for the first time? So it still gives you that same support of local owners. One of the things that's really important in cannabis is keeping the money local. And Unity Road allows franchisors to set up systems and processes to do just that. There are some huge companies out there, multi-state organizations, and yes, we are a multi-state organization. Somehow with franchising, we've managed to become the anti-MSO MSO. That makes sense. And it's really just about you. It's about the franchisee and keeping that money local, keeping that money in your neighborhoods, but still empowering folks with that expertise, which we'll talk about here in a second, so that you can avoid, boy, mistakes here can be catastrophic. If you're out of compliance or even getting through the navigation of the complicated licensing process. And so again, we talk about speed, we talk about economies of scale, and we talk about that roadmap to help you navigate the complications. Really quickly, $41 billion in the next 4 years. The franchise opportunity is about you getting your slice of that pie. So what does it mean that we combine the best of both of these worlds? Because frankly, there are some cannabis concepts now that are starting to throw around the F word. That's franchising. Relax. So there's some cannabis folks that say, we franchise. You go, okay, well, tell me about your systems. Tell me about your processes. Tell me about your disclosure documents. Well, we don't really have that yet, but it sounds like a sexy thing to do. And there's some franchise people that are talking about cannabis. Well, tell me about your cannabis experience, because I tell you, I've been in franchising a long time. Cannabis is unlike anything any of us has ever seen. It's a really complicated thing to do as a franchisor. Just the batting of heads of the federal regulations of franchising, the federal illegality of cannabis is a really complicated thing to be able to maneuver. And so putting together the best of both worlds is really, really important. So on the cannabis side, over 120 years of combined experience, lots and lots of awards for products and stores, multi-unit operation across multiple states, which includes winning licenses and operational experience. And this bottom one is really important and something that, coming from franchising, I wasn't super familiar with: compliance. The ability to navigate the ever-changing complications of compliance in this industry are unlike anything I or most of us have seen. And so being able to have that cannabis backing, and then you combine that with over 50 years of collective franchise experience, working with hundreds, if not thousands, of franchisees in many countries across many concepts, allows us to really have the best of both of those worlds and take all of that 120 years of combined experience in cannabis and systematize it in a franchise that allows you to enter a market that many are having a hard time even entering. So what do we offer? Gives you that purchasing power. Well, there's no crossing of state lines. So we're talking about purchasing power by supply chain management within each state boundaries. And that's a really complicated and important thing to fully understand. Having those proven processes of operating compliantly and profitably over many states, over many years, with a focus on balancing profitability and, again, compliance, which is really, really important. Some of the horror stories you hear, they all come back to compliance. It allows you to still have some of the benefits of just a quote unquote normal franchise: performance tracking, financial blueprints, marketing support that goes on and on and on in an industry that's really, really complicated and ranges in states from adopt a highway to big billboards and taxis for any of you who like to go out and play in Vegas, as well as employee training and customer experience that allows you to, again, be a part of your local neighborhood, keep that money local, keep that community feel where people do understand this is part of a bigger concept for consistency. But what does it mean locally? What is a franchisee able to do? And with the dollars and cents that make the business up in this market, your ability to do community outreach and really do some good in your neighborhood is unlike anything we've seen in franchising. A couple complications here, and I want to get to Q&A here shortly. But you can't do this everywhere. And if you live in one of the states that's light blue, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It just doesn't exist. In medical use, we're starting to get really some stair-step approach to getting into this, and that's okay. This last year and a half has obliterated state budgets and really changed the mentality of a lot of people at the state level, saying, hey, where we've deemed illegal, other states have deemed essential and are enjoying record tax revenues and really helping the state come back from the pandemic. And so you're seeing more and more states come on board and much, much quicker. There are many states that you can come to. If you live in a state where there isn't or there's limited ability, you can come to states like Colorado, you can come to states like Massachusetts and others coming on board where there are opportunities for a very passive ownership or even an acquisition of an existing dispensary to convert to a Unity Road. So opportunities state by state. And if you don't know, call us and ask, and we can talk about where the opportunities are. Ultimately, this is what we do. Yes, we are a cannabis dispensary franchise. And so we want to help folks be compliant and profitable. We want to help folks navigate those entry complications that are really tougher here than in any other industry, really, in franchising. But in the end, once you have a license and once you have a store, this is a retail franchise concept. The business is cannabis, which makes it complicated, but this is a retail franchise concept. And we're developing units with lots of folks in lots of different states, and we're really excited to be able to offer the potential to build generational wealth. Look it up in your state or in other states or average stores. We talked about what's happening in the industry as a whole, but the ability to build generational wealth, the ability to build a store or several stores that will create money that your grandkids will be talking about in an industry that is brand new. This isn't a new spin on a different business. This is an industry that hasn't existed, and the numbers are just life-changing and community-changing. and something we're really excited about offering people an opportunity to get into. A couple more slides here. So if you have questions, just want to take a moment to remind you to put them in that questions tab, and we will address those here as we wind up. A little bit about who we're looking for. You know, people come to us, do I need to have experience in cannabis? Well, the reality is nobody has experience in cannabis. And so very few of us do. And so, no, we're looking for folks that are committed to helping grow this brand, that want to be part of a pioneering concept. Experience with multi-unit operations is a huge bonus for you, not the cannabis side, but just to be able to understand operations of retail, especially across multiple cities or multiple states. Just that entrepreneurial drive. We talk about access to required capital. Well, gosh, unfortunately, there's no lending. You can't just put your 15 or 20% down and go to a bank and get an SBA, because SBAs are federal, and federally this is illegal. So this is a capital investment. You need at least $1 million liquid. Doesn't mean it has to be you. Could be through partners or private money or family or whatever you choose to do, but know that you can't come to this with your normal 20% down and finance the rest. And an average investment goes from $1 million to 2.5, depending on what you're looking to do. Acquisitions could be much, much more. New market entrants could be significantly less, but on average, $1 million to 2.5 is the total investment, of which, again, you need to come to the table with that required liquidity. Ultimately, our stores are a place that's safe, a place that's well lit, a consultative approach, a customer-centric approach to this industry, opposed to the deli style, eyeballs burning the back of your head if you have a question type of a mentality that we've seen in this industry up to date. And so this is an opportunity for people to shop it, for people to ask questions, for people to get that customer service that allows them to have a good customer experience, but also product experience, because we have a responsibility here to educate and tell people what's up, tell people how this product is going to impact them, tell people about the many methods of consumption that a lot of folks who are canna curious don't even know. And so there's an educational component here for us, and it's a responsibility to help our customers, both industry veterans, using veterans, and also folks who are new to this or canna curious, to be able to come in and have a really great experience. So before we get to questions, I'll just tell you a little bit about where we go from here. If you're interested in franchising in any concept, they'll have some sort of a process for you to make sure that before you say your I do's, you've gone on enough dates to know each other well, know that this is a good fit. The better the franchise, the more focus they're going to have on that cultural fit to make sure that this is a good all-around journey for us all to go on ahead. And so the journey of kind of the dating before the I do's is, let's talk. Let's understand whose role is what. Let's get into the details and the black and white. Let's break bread. Let's meet in person and make sure that we have a plan that we all believe in, that we all think is attainable, that everybody's safe, and that we don't have any of those awkward conversations after we go into a partnership together. So that's kind of what we'll do. Folks who are really aggressive get through that in a couple of weeks, other folks a couple of months. But the key is for us to make sure that we understand each other's goals and abilities and roles so that we can come up with a plan to move forward together. So with that said, I'm going to pause here, put up some contact information. Thank you so much. I think we went just a couple minutes over today, but I want to save some time for questions. So if you can poke your questions into that question button there on your panel, I am absolutely thrilled to be able to answer anything that you may need. Go ahead and type in some questions while they are coming in. So the first one says, we talk about, let's see, you talk about what's happening in the cannabis industry. How does that mirror what is happening in other industries in franchising? I love that question. So the answer is that it really does mirror it very well. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's the same. Right? This is a good franchise is a good franchise. And so for us, that is putting together systems and processes to make sure that we have the ability to put you through a process where we can make sure this is a good fit, and that you have the roadmap to be successful and ongoing support forever and ever. So as you go through the process of investigation with any concept, You want to make sure you're asking the tough questions. Talk to folks. Would current franchisees do it again? Do you feel that they have the right mentality that's focused on franchisees to make sure that you can be successful? Is it a good cultural fit? Is it a business you can be passionate about? You don't need to be passionate about the product per se, right? We're not looking for just folks who are really passionate about using this specific product, but I do think it's important to understand what you're getting into, whether it's gyms or food or coffee or cannabis or taxes or whatever it is, an industry that you can really get behind. The more passion you have about the industry, the more it'll feel like a passion project opposed to work. And so I think that's really, really an important piece. So thank you for that question. What else do you guys want to know? Somebody asked, how do I know what my state is doing? So one of the things I would say, and I'm going to kind of scroll back to that state slide. One of the things I would say is, if you're not already, and if you're on here, you probably are, get onto our mailing list. Once you've inquired for information, you're probably already on our mailing list, and that gives you, honestly, I think the single best source of information in this industry. And so that's a really important piece. Take a look at this map here. The reality is this map changes all the time. And so if you live in a state where there's medical use only, there may be some opportunities. If you live in a state where there is adult use and medical use, like the orange states, it doesn't necessarily mean there are opportunities. It's all about licensing. And so coming together to understand what's happening in your state today allows us to give you the ability to fully understand what's happening and what your opportunities are. And that may mean coming to a different state, by the way. Great questions. What else? All right, looks like that's it. You've got our contact information here. And so I will make sure that if any emails come in with questions, that you have our contact information. And I'll scroll here just really quickly, sorry, to the contact info slide. Shoot us an email, give us a call, let us know what questions you have, and we are happy to help you, happy to talk about franchising, happy to help you with what's happening in the cannabis industry and how we are combining both of those things. We appreciate your time, appreciate you all being here. Again, I'm Justin from Unity Road, and we will talk to you shortly. Have a terrific afternoon. Take care.